program Midday Discourse on Global Television. I am Samuel Odi, and happy Independence Day, Nigeria. Yes, Nigeria at 64. Journey so far. On this edition, we'll be extraying the failures and the success of the nation. You know, some persons are calling for celebrations while some are calling for protests. But we're hoping in all lights that there would be peace and order within the country. So on this note, I'm making you welcome to Midday Discuss. And again, happy Independence Day, Nigeria. Happy Independence Day, Nigeria. Nigeria is 64. On today's edition, we'll be extraying the failures and successes of Nigeria since independence. And I have someone here with me in the studio who would help extray all of these conversations. We'll be looking at it from the economic angle, social, and as well as looking at oil and gas sector. I have live with me in the studio the Vice President, Nigerian Irish Business Association, Mr. Aliyu Adu. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. How are you today?
Fine, thank you. Happy Independence Day.
Same to you.
Yes, so
Thank you.
how do you feel about Nigeria being 64?
Well, we thank God. Nigeria, we're at 64 now. We are not exactly a collapsed country like other countries, like Venezuela, for example, or other countries that have totally failed. We're still struggling on our journey to nationhood and nationhood building. So we thank God. Both of us are alive today.
Yes.
We thank God for that, and we breathe there. And there's a degree of sanity in Nigeria. Nigerians are resilient. Nigerians are not giving up. Nigerians are, pushing and struggling. So we thank God for that, that we're a nation. We're still one Nigeria. We're not broken down into pieces. We're still a country. And we have a federal government and a government that we all look up to. And, even though things are not perfect, the various organs of government are moving forward.
Yes, it's a very good thing to achieve at 64, despite the fact we are not where we want to be, but we are also moving in the right direction. But let's get into the conversation. Since Nigeria was known for agriculture before the discovery of crude, and then now, how has Nigerian oil and gas sector now, how have they contributed to the inability to diversify Nigerian economy?
You mean the oil and gas sector?
Yes, that's the oil and gas sector.
Well, I'll say oil and gas has been more of a curse than a blessing to Nigeria. Why do I say that? Before the boom of the oil or the discovery of the oil, we were into agriculture, and we were doing well in agriculture. Imagine those times when there wasn't proper mechanized agriculture. We still had our agronomic pyramids. We had our cocoa. We had our rubber in Sapele and all that. We were still producing. We supplied 40%. We produced 40% of the 20% of the world cocoa. Along the other 30% came from Ghana. We provided rubber, and Nigeria was moving towards agricultural self-sustenance. And that was before the discovery of the oil. So at that time, we had granite pyramids coming from the north. The north, we all know, is a very industrious, agricultural, cultured society. And this is how it was then. And unfortunately, after the discovery of oil, we abandoned agriculture completely. We went on oil, and oil has not been so much of a blessing, because if you look at the indices in terms of growth, economic growth, we are not where we're supposed to be. In terms of employment, we are not where we're supposed to be. In terms of inflation, we're not where we're supposed to be. In terms of industrialization, we're not where we're supposed to be. In terms of housing, we're not where we're supposed to be. So I believe that the discovery of oil is more of a curse than a blessing to Nigeria.
Yeah, looking at this from this angle now, because given the fact that you've mentioned that it's more like a curse than a blessing, we are suffering food insecurity, food crisis in the country, and then it has been declared for over a year now by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that this country is at a dire stage of food insecurity. Now, has corruption contributed to all of these facts, looking at the oil and gas sector?
Oh, yes. Corruption has contributed a great deal. Let's take us back to, the Niger Delta region. If you go to the Niger Delta region, if you go to Bayelsa, there's a lot of oil spillage. What is the level of economic growth in that area? This is where our oil is coming from.
Yes.
You hear the Niger Deltans are complaining. The standard of living of people in the Niger Delta that produce oil is not different from the standard of living of somebody in an oil producing state. The level of infrastructural development in an oil producing state is not different from the level of infrastructural development in a non-oil producing state. As a matter of fact, you find out that some non-oil producing states are doing better in terms of development in comparison to states that are oil producing. Why is that? They get more revenue, apparently. They have more access to, resources. And the development is still backward. That is what corruption is we're talking about. There's a lot of activism, people fighting for their rights in the Niger Delta. That's why we have different
councils like the Joy Youths.
The different councils, the Joy Youths. You hear of Tompolo. You hear of different groups, fighting for improved standard of living in these areas, springing up every day. Even the locals of the area, every day they're complaining they don't have drinking water because their water is polluted by oil. You see pipes being connected, all sorts of things happening in the Niger Delta area. Why is this? A country, a region that produces majority of the oil that feeds the nation. Why are they not developed? This is the reason. Corruption. The corruption that is embedded in the society is eating up our development, is eating up our development resources. So corruption is definitely a major aspect, a major problem we have in Nigeria.
Okay. Looking at those angles now, let's talk about poor planning and looking at our current inflation rates, which keeps skyrocketing on a month-on-month basis. What role has poor economic planning played in downsizing Nigerian economy?
Well, whenever there's anything wrong with the economy, the first person you hold responsible is the planners of the economy. No matter what happens. If the economy is doing well, the planners of the economy take credit. If the economy is doing badly, the planners of the economy take the brunt. Now, who are the planners of the economy? The president wishes well for all of us, Nigerians, but then he's not the one to put up the economic plans. So if you see inflation is increasing month by month, I'm afraid we have to look at the people planning the economy. We have to look at the CBN governor. We have to look at the Ministry of Finance. We have to look at the economic team. Are they doing a good job? Because for me to sit here and not tell you the truth means that I'm destroying myself. Because tomorrow, this country belongs to our children. I might not be here tomorrow, even though I pray for long life and prosperity, but it is our children that would inherit. So we need to plan. We need to have the right people in place to give us the right economic plan. If there is consistent inflation going on, then something must be done. Then let's go back and correct our policies. The National Assembly members, the senators, the CBN governor, the Ministry of Finance, we need to go back to the drawing board and say, what is the problem? Okay, let's take, for example, subsidy has been taken out. How are we supporting local production of PMS, of fuel, to reach Nigerians in order to reduce the cost, the final consumption cost of PMS? What are the indices being put in place? Okay, we're talking about increase in fuel prices. How are we, well, maybe there's no petrol subsidy, but then how are we subsidizing the movement in terms of transportation costs between point of production, refinery, and point of consumption? So these are, how is the logistics being provided? And how are other facets, other sectors of the economy being supported in terms of tanker drivers, in terms of ease of transportation, in terms of road network? How is the economic team making it easy for Nigerians to get this all-important commodity? Because if there is any obstacle, if there's any threat that reduces or stops movement of goods and services from the point of production to the point of consumption, that is where you get inflation. That is where there will be an added cost. That is where there will be problems. So regardless of we having a good president that tells us that, oh, I'm trying to take away subsidy, we also have to have a good economic team on the ground, ready to run, to make the goods available for the common man, to reduce the pressure of inflation. And how are we supporting SMEs in production? Because the more you are importing goods and services, the more it becomes expensive, the more inflation, the more devaluation of the naira, the more we source for the dollar. At what point are we going to stop? That is where the economic team comes in. Yes. How are we subsidizing the local farmer to produce sugarcane, so that we produce sugar instead of exporting sugar? Importing sugar. Yeah. We import sugar as we speak. Dangote is the largest importer of sugar. Why? That's not helping us. It means all the jobs we have in this is given to that country that we're importing sugar from, because we are buying sugar from them. We are supporting their production. We are supporting employment in those countries. While we don't have employment here. So what we have to do, just like Dangote went to create a refinery here, I think it should stop the importation of sugar. BUA and Dangote should absolutely stop the importation of sugar. We don't need to import sugar when we can grow sugar and provide jobs for Nigerians. So this is where we should invest inward, not outwardly.
Yeah. Well,
thank you.
Yes, looking at these angles now about production and cost of living, and as well as transportation. It's been said that starting from today, crude will be sold to Dangote refineries and other refineries locally in naira. So do you think that is an avenue to be able to cut down transportation and then the cost of moving around for Nigerians in the next couple of months?
Yes, that's a very good policy, to sell crude to Dangote in naira. By the way, it's illegal for you to be in Nigeria and transacting in dollars. That is wrong. We have a legal tender. Our legal tender is Nigeria.
Yes.
If you bring, most countries are running away from the dollar now. The BRICS countries, Russia, India, China, everybody is falling back to their currency. Because once you keep transacting in dollars, what you're doing, you think you're making money. You're not. You're destroying your currency. So most countries are moving away from the dollar right now. So it's very important, very, very, very important, we focus on the naira. So it's a good step that the president said that they should sell crude to Dangote in naira. That reduced the pressure on the dollar. Because if you are selling to Dangote in dollar, meaning Dangote has to go and source for dollars. And that means all the time he's going to go to banks, and obviously banks do not have enough. He has to go to black market. And when he's saturating the market, you and I are not going to have or access to dollars, and the price goes up. And then Naira keeps falling. Maybe not you and I, but whoever is going to look for dollars to buy, to import anything. So it's a good step that not only should Dangote be sold crude in Naira, all transactions that within Nigeria, the shores of Nigeria should be in Naira. You shouldn't promote another country. You should not promote dollar in Nigeria. Because if you're doing that, you're destroying the Naira. That's what it is. We should promote the Naira. As a matter of fact, Naira should be the only legal tender in Nigeria, as far as I'm concerned, if we're looking to promote economic growth in industrial development. Because all these things, economic issues, are interlinked. If you buy things in dollar, what you're doing is you're depreciating the Naira. You are increasing the value of the dollar. And then, because you're buying things in dollars, or you're importing things in dollars, there might be inflation on those goods from the origin country. So as you're buying it at the inflated price. Once you bring it here, you are going to sell it at the inflated price.
After paying.
And then that's inflation. So it is, dollar comes with its own problems. Dollar comes with its own problems. Do you understand?
Yes.
So if you take dollar, you're taking dollar with all the sickness it comes with. If you are going to buy goods and services from abroad, you're buying goods and services with all the sickness that it comes with in that country. It comes with inflation. It comes with maybe those people are also crying, minimum wage in their country and saying, well, you have to pay a particular minimum wage. You are the one paying the minimum wage of those people in the country. While you are not paying the minimum wage of your citizens. So that's the problem with importation. That is the problem with dollarization. That is the problem with relying on imported goods and services. Thank you very much.
Okay, looking at those angles now, and then looking at what you said of inflation, and then talking about policies, it's all going to boil down to the fact that Nigerian monetary policy will keep getting tightened. But now let's move away from the economy. Let's talk a little bit about ethnicity, religion, and how it has hindered political stability in Nigeria. How do you think ethnics and then religious tribalism have hindered political stability?
Well, we're all one Nigeria, I believe. And we should, tribalism, whether you like it or not, is embedded in some Nigerians, and people make decisions based on that. That is not good for a country. Decisions should be based on a merit system, on your qualifications, on how good you are for a particular position. I know we have the federal character, but if we're looking to, we're all one Nigerian. Be you're from the north, you're from the south, you're from the east. Now there's inflation in Nigeria. Is the east exonerated? There's poverty in Nigeria. Is the east exonerated, or is the north exonerated, or is the south exonerated? This is where we need education. Our leaders need to educate us more that we're one Nigeria. Any sickness that disturbs one Nigeria is going to affect the rest of us. So tribalism, nepotism, ethnicity is not going to move us forward if we want to move the country forward. If we want to develop, we should put the people in the people in positions based on the merit system. You cannot give somebody something just because of tribalism or nepotism, or because it's from your village, you are giving him a particular position, or because that's not going to help Nigeria. That's going to destroy us. And unfortunately, that is embedded in the culture and our way of life. This is something we should run away from, because when the problem starts, it does not know any region. When inflation starts, it doesn't say, oh, I'm only limited to a particular part of Nigeria. When hunger starts, it doesn't say, well, we are leaving out Lagos. It's still going to happen to people in Lagos. When any form of sickness starts, like we had COVID, it's not going to say, well, we are going to leave middle belt out of it. It's going to affect the whole of Nigerians. So the more we realize that ethnicity, tribalism is not the way to go. Our leaders should sanitize the people to understand that we're all one. Whether you are Igbo, whether you are Yoruba, whether you are Hausa, whether you are from Kogi, whether you are from Plateau, we are all one Nigeria. And we have to move this country as one, not as different regions.
Looking at the electoral system now, what role has the electoral malpractice played in terms of, undermining Nigerians' democracy?
Electoral malpractice is never good, because it's just going to tell you that who the people elected, it stifles democracy. Who the people elected are not going to get into power. That's what it means.
So does it mean that this approach, does it mean that it's part of one of the major challenges now Nigeria is facing in terms of development?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The electoral system, democracy is a government for the people, from the people, by the people. That's what democracy is. Now, if the electoral system does not elect leaders that are elected by the people, then we're always going to have the wrong leaders. We're always going to have the wrong leaders. So in a nutshell, a bad electoral system is not good for democracy. It is not. So the success of any democratic country or society is a transparent electoral system that will bring in the right leaders to to govern us.
Okay. Yeah.
If you look at now, one of the good things that this administration, the president of the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has done, is to make sure that the local governments chairman are duly elected and not appointed by governors. Financial freedom for the local government chairman. Because if you can't elect your councillor, if you can't elect your local government chairman, then who can you elect? These are the people that will bring the dividends of democracy to the people. Now, if you create an autonomy to the local government chairman, then if anything goes wrong in your locality, you know who to point your fingers at. You can go and tell him, well, the president has made it possible for you not to be able to have financial autonomy. What have you spent our money on? What have you allocation that is being given to you? How are you improving our lifestyle? Or how are you providing social amenities? So that is one of the corner points, success stories of the present government. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. We'll extract other angles of this conversation in terms of talking about security and why Nigeria has not been able to overcome a challenge, mostly in the northeast region. But before we get into that conversation, we'll be going on a quick break, and when we return back, Midday Discourse continues.
Time check. It's midday. Then it's Midday Discourse. Midday Discourse is a program that covers trending local and international news, current issues, and human-related topics. Join Samuel Odi weekdays 1 p.m. on Global Television. The discussion starts here. Time check. It's midday. Then it's Midday Discourse. Midday Discourse is a program that covers trending local and international news, current issues, and human-related topics. Join Samuel Odi weekdays 1 p.m. on Global Television. The discussion starts here. Time check. It's midday. Then it's Midday Discourse. Midday Discourse is a program that covers trending local and international news, current issues, and human-related topics. Join Samuel Odi weekdays 1 p.m. on Global Television. The discussion starts here. Time check. It's midday. Then it's Midday Discourse. Midday Discourse is a program that covers trending local and international news, current issues, and human-related topics. Join Samuel Odi weekdays 1 p.m. on Global Television. The discussion starts here. Time check. It's midday. Then it's Midday Discourse. Midday Discourse is a program that covers trending local and international news, current issues, and human-related topics. Join Samuel Odi weekdays 1 p.m. on Global.
Yes, many thanks for staying with us. If you're just joining, this is Midday Discuss. And we've been having interesting conversation around the failures and successes of Nigeria since its independence. And again, happy Independence Day, Nigeria. So now let's look at the angle of security, Mr. Aliyu. Why has Nigeria struggled for over the past decade? Insecurity in the Northeast region has been a major challenge in terms of not letting farmers get to go to farm, and high level of kidnapping happening around the Northeast region and also some parts of the eastern states. So what has been the challenge or struggle that has made the challenge that the security operatives now are facing to be able to combat this level of crime totally?
Well, I'm not a security expert, but I believe that the security apparatus have failed because they are even better now. Before, it was worse. Boko Haram was everywhere, bombing everywhere, and infiltrating security agencies, personnel, and, compromising our security network.
Yes.
Better now. Before, it was worse. You hear about a train between Kaduna being bombed and terrorists taking over.
Yes.
Well, there's no such thing as an absolute security in any country. But then, to a greater extent, it has failed. We have failed because at least we should be able to give ourselves a pass mark of 80%. Before, we could not even give ourselves 40%.
So the way the security...
yeah, go ahead.
Okay. In line with the way the security agencies are going now, do you think we are about to come to the end of the high level of kidnappings?
I think there's a better... With this new administration, I've seen more zealousness in terms of engaging bandits and terrorists. It was worse in previous administration.
Administrations, yeah, very
But
correct.
this current government is making conscious efforts to deal with security. I can see that because if you look at recently, the government and the president asked all the army chiefs or security chiefs to relocate to Borno because there was a threat, a terrorist threat. I think that's how it should be because that's what they're there for. Do you understand? So if enough attention and enough concern is being given and resources are also being attributed or allocated to the security agencies, then I think a lot of changes will happen. And I've seen a change. I've seen that this current government has no interest in insecurity whatsoever. So it is in their interest to ensure that security is at its best. And that's what I see the president doing. There's more zeal and more enthusiasm and resources being allocated to security agencies. In terms of even, once you see more resources being allocated, then there's, employing more security professionals or security staff in order to deal with the problem, especially in the ranks of the army and the police. Okay. So yes. I think it's a departure from what it used to be. It's getting better, and I hope it gets much, much better.
We actually really hope it gets much, much better. But looking at those other angles now, it has been said by the United Nations that, and their projection says that over 133 million Nigerians are living in multi-dimensional poverty. What do you think is the cause of this, and do you agree with these statistics?
I know that majority of Nigerians are poor, because if you go to the villages, you can see it. Our uncles, our aunties are all in the villages, so you can see it. I don't have the accurate statistics, but I know there's a lot that we have to do. Poverty is real, and we're experiencing lots of poverty in Nigeria, and we need to do something about it. It's not hard for you to know that it's all around us, and in my view, if majority of Nigerians are poor, then all Nigerians are poor.
That means it has its own negative impact on life.
Yes.
Education.
There's no way you can celebrate that you have achieved anything when your neighbor cannot eat. You have not achieved anything.
Poor human beings.
Yeah. Why do they call us a developing nation? Because you tax the rich to give the poor. Redistribution of resources. That is what the progressive income taxation is all about. You tax the rich, you tax the Dangotes, you tax the banks, and use it to provide social welfare for the poor people. Until you achieve that level of economic equality, you cannot call yourself a rich nation, or you can't call yourself anything when majority of your citizens are hungry. Let me take you back into a theory, the Marxist theory, that says that the rich, what destroys the capitalist society is the rich gets richer, the poor gets poorer, until the poor has nothing to eat and will start to eat the rich. So no matter how rich you get, and your next door neighbor is poor, it will come to a time that he will have nothing else to eat but to come back and eat you up, because you are now food to him. So that is the concept, the social welfare concept, that when you are taxing the rich, you would use it as a safety net, as a welfare system for the poor, to reduce the income gap. That is the idea behind it. Are we practicing that? That is the question we should ask ourselves. So we can only be rich when every Nigerian can eat and can drink. Otherwise, we're all poor.
Looking at these angles now, do you think that's the reason why a whole lot of persons are agitating and calling for protests? Like, as of today?
Well, that could be the reason.
As of today,
that could be the reason. That could be the reason. That is the reason. Because you cannot celebrate a country when a lot of people are hungry. We should have food banks. We should, in countries, in foreign countries, there's what they call council houses, government houses. The government should indulge in building mass housing. Currently, there's 20 million housing deficit.
Yes.
20 million. That means 20 million Nigeria are homeless and their families. What are the state governors doing? Why are we not seeing mass housing schemes? And when you build mass housing schemes, you should make people owners of those houses. They don't have to have the whole full money to buy the house. You should give it to them under this welfare system.
Yes.
Give it to the poor under welfare system. They pay a certain amount, a very little amount. As small as 5,000-10,000 naira should be able to get you a 2-bedroom house under the welfare system. Are we practicing that? Well, we have a lot of lands in between Abuja and Kefi and Plateau State. There's so many lands. Why are we not building? We have cement. So what is our problem? Why are we not building? We even have a cement factory in my state, Kogi State,
yes,
that produces cement. So why are we not investing in mass housing? So these are policies. This is where we should make it a right for every Nigerian to have housing. A right. Because we can afford it.
Yeah.
We can afford to build mass housing and give it to them. Once you solve that problem, once you give somebody a sense of livelihood, they begin to work hard. You give them a sense to support their families. They begin. If I have a house, you give me a house, and you say, okay, every month you have to pay 50,000 to the government, and then after 10 years you become the owner of this house. It will make me go out there and work and do an economic viable activities in order to be able to pay my mortgage, to keep that house, and make me proud that I'm a house owner. You have to give human beings a sense of self-worthiness to get them to engage in economic activity. And once you and I are engaging in economic activity, it leads to economic development. Nobody wants to come back home and tell their children that they are criminals. They go out to do armed robbery or they go out to steal to feed their children. Nobody.
True.
So make that available for people. Mass housing. There should be some of social net in terms of welfare system, money to people. We should have like workshops that all the people, all this, we say we have a lot of almajiris. Create carpentry workshops for them. Great. We have a lot of empty lands. We have, if you go to the south, there's a lot of palm trees. Why are we not getting people involved in that? Let's produce palm and export, comparative cost advantage, and export to different countries. So God has blessed us. I'm not going to lie. Everywhere, the other day I went to Benue, everywhere were orchards and orchards of orange trees. Why are we not exporting orange juice? Why are we bringing Chivita to give us orange juice? Let's call it what it is. What's wrong with us? We have no problem. I don't think we should be complaining of all the things we are complaining, because we have the local materials to build house. We don't need to import cement. We don't need to import sand. We go to the river, you get sharp sand and plaster sand. Let's build these houses.
How key is it going to be for state governors to get involved in mass housing and making sure that they develop their own states, not just banking on the federal government and the president?
Very, very key. It's not the president. You can't blame the president. Can be everywhere. The federal government can be everywhere. It is very key. Charity starts at home. Where is our home?
Yes.
Our states.
Yes.
Our state is our home. That's where charity starts from. So the state government, let me tell you the functions of the governors, the House of Rep and Senators. Their key functions is to bring development to their states, investors into their states. That is the key function of senators, House of Rep and governors, most especially. They, excuse me. They are supposed to be the number one marketer of their states. They are supposed to go around marketing their state for investors. Oh, I go to summits up and down around the world. This is the function of the governors. Go to different countries, talk to them. I iron ore in my state. I have marble. I have this. I have rubber. I have granite. I have this. Let's talk. This is how Ireland did and got where they are.
Yes.
And market their state so that investors will come and invest in their state. As a senator, what you should ask yourself, what investment have you brought to your state? I mean, you're going to collect cars, Toyota cars. Toyota is another country's product. What investment have you brought to your state? How have you helped Innoson Motors to expand their plants and factories in your state? How have you created jobs? And then at the end of the electoral period, you run back to the electorates and you start giving them 10,000 naira. You're not helping them. How many senators, how many House of Rep, how many governors have brought investors to their state, investment to their state, companies to their state, foreign companies? How many of them? That is their core function right there. Not constituency projects. Get this allocation. That's not your core function. Your core function is to bring employment to your state, is to bring production to your state, is to bring investors to your state. That is the first mandate of a governor, any sitting governor. That's what it is. So if you have not done that, then you have failed. It is not enough to go on TV and be talking about you are fighting your political opponent. Nigerians should not get dragged with that. We should not be dragged into political wars. We should be dragged into the scorecards of governors. What have you brought to your state? What job have you created? What companies are in your state? Housing. How many houses have you built? And you don't build houses to sell at commercial prices. That is not social welfare. If you are taxing all those companies in your state, banks and all, what are you doing with the tax? How many houses have you built? You're supposed to build houses and give it to Mirua seller. Corn seller must have a house. Homelessness. All the people that sleep on, you must create houses for them.
Housing scheme.
Housing schemes. We should judge them by how many housing schemes have they provided? How many hospitals have they provided? So education. How many schools have they built? Not on political wars, PDP, APC. That's irrelevant. It is what you have put on ground that should be the scorecard of governor. And governors are the number one culprits. Believe it or not, governor is number one culprit.
So do you agree with me? Do you agree that this protest now should be channeled to the states and not directly to the president?
I think the president is working very hard. Okay. And I think the president means very well for Nigerians. And I think we should go and protest in our state. Let's leave the president alone. Let's go to your state and protest and tell them, what has the governor done? What has he done for your state? Because the federal government can be everywhere. Let's call a spade a spade. Charity starts at home. Go and meet your local government council. What have you done? From there you go and meet your governor. What have you done to your state? Where is the housing scheme? How many houses have you built? How many hospitals have you built? How many roads have you repaired? Where is your scorecard?
School, healthcare system.
Yes. This is where Nigerians have to focus on. Because the president is one man. One man can't do everything. Development has to start from your locality. What is your local government chairman doing? Hold him responsible. That's the truth. And the president, the states are getting these FAC allocations. What are they doing? You have to know who are working and who is not working. And this is where Nigerians should focus on. That is my take.
Yeah. All right. So now, given the fact that Nigeria is 64 now, then looking at and then the movement in the near future, right? So what approaches do you think the government needs to take, that's this current administration, what approaches do you think that the government needs to take in terms of, coping down the insecurity that we're facing in the Northeast region, and then as well as also what can be done to be able to improve the standard of living for Nigerians as we wrap up?
Focusing on the Northeast region. We all know that the Northeast, there are a lot of underage children, out of school, out of families. We label them almajiris. These are our children, these are our brothers, these are our sisters. We have no business calling a particular group of people Almajiris. Why are we doing that? It is our responsibility to provide housing for them. It is our responsibility to feed them. If you cannot feed your children as a parent, you have failed. And if the nation cannot provide you work or support you, the nation has failed you. So the most important thing is we should look at investment in schools. We should look at investment in housing. We should look at investment in food. The basics is what is needed. We should have homes that these underprivileged children can be taken to. We can afford it. We can build it. We have a lot of empty land. If you move between Kano and Kaduna, there is a lot of empty land. Why can't we just take one and say, okay, let's build schools. Let's build schools. Let's build all the underprivileged people should come to these schools and stay there. And the land is, let them farm for them. When they reach a certain age, they begin to farm. We can turn the story around if we really want to and make them economically productive. Okay, you work from this age to this age. You work from this age to this age. You go to school. When you are born to this age, you go to school. The schools are there. Once you reach a particular age, say 18, you begin to engage yourself economically, go into the farm to provide food for this, to serve the younger ones and sell. We can turn the story out and make it an economic success. If Dangote can build a refinery that a lot of government, Port Harcourt refinery has failed, Kaduna refinery has failed, why can't we feed the whole of the underprivileged children in Nigeria? We must have the will. It can be done. It's not impossible because we are not going to America or London to bring the food. We can grow food in our back garden. In Israel is a small country of 11 million people. Yes. They don't even have good agriculture, land. They are growing
on green light.
They are growing in the air, growing food in air because they don't have good land. If you eat mango and throw it at the back of your garden, it will germinate and grow.
True.
So we are so blessed. We don't know how blessed we are, but we are not doing the right things. We're not putting square pegs in square holes. That's what we are not doing, and we need to do that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so very much, Aliyu Adu, Vice President, Nigerian Irish Business Association, for all your input, and we're sure that the government has taken cues on angles that they need to focus on how to revamp Nigerian economy and its citizens. That's how much time will permit us to take on today's edition of Midday Discourse. Happy Independence Day, Nigeria. Happy Independence Day to you, Mr. Aliyu.
Thank you.
And that's how much time will permit us to take on today's edition. I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.